When it comes to managing my Amazon FBA account, one of the most frustrating parts of it for me is when items go into stranded inventory or unfulfillable. Oftentimes items go into unfulfillable or stranded inventory and there is no apparent explanation for it. In this video, I'm going to go over some of the reasons why items do go into stranded inventory. I'll also share some tips to make it easier to manage, and I will share the details of a recent communication that I had with Amazon over it. My name is Manny, and this is Manny's Book Bag. Hello everybody, welcome back to Manny's Book Bag. I'm back with another video. It could very well just be my account, but lately there has been a rash of one or two ofs at a time of items that are going into stranded inventory on my account. I can usually sort of figure out why an item is in stranded inventory, but lately I've had some items go stranded without any real explanation. Some of these are actually items that I've had in my inventory for several months. First of all, it can be really easy to miss this, so let me give you a couple of tips to help you manage your account a little better. The first thing you're going to want to do with stranded inventory is to actually review it quite often. It's taken me some time to actually get into the habit, but I've become pretty obsessed with making sure that my stranded inventory is at zero as often as possible. This is very important to do because if you have stranded inventory in there at all times and you're always clogged with inventory in there, it's going to be very hard to notice when something small happens that is kind of out of the ordinary. I'm going to share with you a couple of the known causes for items going to stranded inventory, but before I do, there's another tip here. When you can't make any sense of why an item is in stranded inventory, and it should be active inventory, put it on Amazon. I think for a lot of us, the default answer was just to suck it up and have the item returned to us and put it back in again. But that doesn't really solve the issue, especially if it's an internal problem with Amazon. You ship it back in and it goes back to stranded again. Whenever I couldn't make any sense at all out of why an item went into stranded inventory, I've had pretty good success of opening up cases with Amazon and having them research it. And in the cases where there was no good reason why the item was stranded, I was able to successfully put it back on Amazon to get those items active. The last time that it happened, I actually called in, and I don't know why I do this half the time because I can never understand what Amazon is saying. But I still do it anyway because it's my account and it's Amazon's job to make sure that they're doing their part. So I think that's a really big tip. If you can't understand why the item is stranded, ask. But there are a couple of really well-known reasons why items all of a sudden show up in stranded inventory. The first reason that I'm going to cover is probably the one that we're all the most sensitive about right now. Whenever Amazon decides that they want to change the rules and there's a brand that becomes registered and gated, or when there's an entire category like what recently happened in music and with textbooks, it is very possible that items that we have active in the warehouse are no longer good for us to sell. So what you'll see is you'll see items that start to trickle into stranded inventory, and it's up to us to either have them returned to us for 50 cents or have them destroyed for 15 cents. That's out of our control. There's nothing that we can really do about that except to just verify with Amazon. But that's also one of those situations where we tend to see it coming once the news comes out that a category is gated or no longer up for sale. There's a second reason why items go stranded, and I don't know how many of you are actually aware of this. Whenever I see a new item go stranded, I go directly into my pending sales. Believe it or not, stranded inventory is often just a temporary situation. I've seen it happen quite often where the item had actually just sold. Now typically the order goes through just fine and it's not in stranded inventory in a day or two. But the question remains, why did that happen? Now I don't even know why it happens, but it's something that I did notice. Next time you get an item in your stranded inventory, check your pending orders and see if that happened to you as well. It's extremely likely that the item going into stranded inventory after it sells is a result of it not being in the original location. Amazon warehouse reps are not allowed to just guess on where an item should be if it falls from the shelf or whatever happens. They do have to separate it into a separate bin for researching so that they get it right. So it could just very well be that this happens because the item has to get pulled from elsewhere. It's a big mystery too because I could not even get an Amazon representative to speculate or make something up on the phone. Neither Christmas nor Beyonce were able to answer this question for me. But just keep an eye out for it because it does happen, and it seems to happen to me pretty regularly. The third reason why an item goes into stranded inventory is because you don't actually have a listing in your inventory. This is actually a fairly easy fix, and one of the ways that you know that is when you go into your stranded inventory and you try to click on what your options are, it does give you the option to relist. This could happen for a couple of reasons, and the first reason would be that you sent something into the warehouse and never actually added it to your shipment. That's actually pretty good news because that is something that you can fix. Another reason why your items go into stranded inventory is if you physically have the product at the warehouse but you delete the listing. That's going to take your active inventory and automatically kick it over to stranded inventory. A couple of times of the year, I actually do this on purpose. You see, when I go through my inventory trying to figure out what's going to get discarded or what's going to be destroyed for long-term storage fees, I don't simply purge my inventory. One of the things that I do to keep my inventory and my inactive listings as neat as possible is that I make sure those listings are completely wiped. So as I go down my manage inventory page and I start checking off the items that I am going to have destroyed, I take the additional step of going back and deleting all the listings first. This is ideal for me because this way I don't have to go back and try to remember which items I deleted. As soon as I delete them, within a couple of minutes when Amazon updates, all of those items show up in stranded inventory. From there, it's just as easy as selecting all of them from stranded inventory and then destroying from there. It saves me a big step and it saves me a lot of time, but as you can see, anytime you delete a listing, if it's active inventory, it's going to show up in the stranded file. There is another major reason that I am aware of why Amazon would take your inventory and move it over to stranded inventory. And once again, it has nothing to do with anything you did. It's actually an internal process within Amazon. Periodically, Amazon is going to take down certain listings for review. Whenever we receive those emails about changes to specific ASINs and things like that, all of those are the direct result of an Amazon review, whether it's something that they did themselves or whether another buyer calls in and asks them to change something about a listing. Here's something that a lot of people don't know. During the brief amount of time that Amazon is reviewing a listing, they do take it down. This will cause your inventory to temporarily show up in stranded inventory. The process can be really quick, so there's times that we don't even notice this happens, but it does happen more often than we realize. This is also the biggest reason why, even though I'm always really proactive about my stranded inventory, I take note of what's going on in there, but I never take action on inventory that is in there for at least a day or two. That helps me to make sure that there's nothing going on with pending or with listing reviews that I really don't have to worry about. And then, of course, the last reason why things end up in stranded inventory is...
I don't know!
We just don't have a freaking clue. I don't even think Amazon is always aware of why things get kicked over to stranded inventory. So keeping an eye on that is really one of those things that is super critical to your inventory and to your account. But here's the question of the day. What are your observations on reasons why things go into stranded inventory? And is there anything I missed? Put in the comments below. Share with us what you know. Well, that's all for today's video, folks. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to see me make more of them, please remember to share, like, and subscribe to support the channel. If you haven't liked this video yet, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if for some reason you're not subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and tap on that book bag up there. While you're in there, hit those bell notifications so that you don't miss anything. Till next time, let's go make some money.